All right, so let's talk a little bit more about what this class is. So I've tried to give you that was my view on what the class consists of, but let's get into some more detail, because one of the things that's important to understand about this class is that um, it's being taught all over BMCC. There are like 100 versions of this class being taught by different professors. This is a class that every single person has to pass to move on in college. For a lot of students, it's also their first college class, which means it has this, and I hate to tell you this, but this is a class that people come to BMCC, they exited high school, but they've never been to college. This is often the first class that they take their first semester. It's probably your first semester. Um, it is also a class where you're going to feel the differences between high school and college in this class. It's tricky, and I'll help you and I'll walk you through it. But it's a class that operates as a kind of, they call it's like a gatekeeper class. This is a class that when people fail this class, it's not just that they fail the classes, they don't continue on in college. So this class kind of doubles as like a orientation to college life. So one of the other things that we're doing in this class is like teaching you how to be a college student and how to do well in college, and it's slightly different than high school. Just to give you a quick example, I had a student once who came to class every single class, and he listened to what I had to say, and he nodded his head, and he never missed a day. He also never turned any assignments in. And then at the end of the class, he came to me in the last day of class and said, "Professor, what's my grade?" And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Your grade's a 0. You failed, dude." And he was like, "What are you talking about? I was here every day." And I was like, "But you didn't do any assignments." And he was like, "Well, I did that in high school and I passed." So there are some differences. Um, and we'll talk more about those. But the basic differences are, in this class, you're going to have to, I'm not going to kick your ass. If you do nothing for me, I will not bother you. I will not chase you around. I will not make you feel bad. But you won't pass. So it's kind of one of the key differences. It's very much up to you whether college is voluntary in a way that high school isn't really. And it kind of is, but it's tricky. Early high school certainly is not voluntary. You have to go. But college is a sort of choice. And so one of the things that makes this class tricky is, in order to do well, you're going to have to, like, I'm not going to yell at you. I give you a simple example. I think a common thing in high school is they ask you to read a book, and then they don't believe that you read it. And so they give you a quiz to prove that you read it. I will not be doing that. I'm going to give you some things to read, and I hope you read them. If you don't, I think you're not going to do well in the class, but I'm also not going to yell at you or bother you. So you have to go to the website, you got to check in, you got to do the work. And if you don't do the work, I can't help you because I'm not your dad, and you're all adults. So, um, so it's a slightly trickier environment. But I was saying about this class, English 101 is being taught all over BMCC by different professors, and the only real rules. Right, I told you what the class is, right? You read something, you give your opinion on the thing that you read, you back up your opinion with reasons and examples, and you think about other people's perspectives, and that's what you're doing. Different teachers teach it all over the college, but they all pick different things to read. Remember, I said you had to read something and respond to it. Oh, and one of the rules for the class, by the way, in this class, the things you will be responding to are nonfiction. So they are, you think about like essays, basically. We're reading something a little stranger, but the idea is it's arguments and essays. Now, in the next class you take, which is English 201, that you can take after you pass this class, that's where you're going to do the same thing we do in this class, except you're going to be reading novels and poems, and you're going to be watching plays and that kind of thing. Short stories, that kind of thing. This is not short stories, this is not plays, this is not novels. You're reading nonfiction thinkers. One of the things that it's important to understand about this class is that it's being taught all over the school, and different teachers pick different books. So, like, there's a version of this class somewhere, I don't know where, I've heard somebody does this, where they make their students read the newspaper every day, and then the students discuss what they read in the newspaper that week. And I get that. That's actually not a bad idea for class. I like what the teacher's trying to do. She's training her students to sort of be used to reading the newspaper on a daily basis, like a lot of adults do, to find out what's going on in the world, and not just to find out, but to have opinions on what's going on in the world and to defend those opinions and explain them. That's rare, but you can teach this class with newspapers. It's possible. More common is to teach this class with essays. And I'm sure you're used to seeing these kinds of things. So here, a teacher will give you an essay about, let's say, about ethical food consumption in America. Is it ethical to eat meat? discuss, debate. Or they'll be like, should abortion be legal? Debate. Or should marijuana be legal? Debate. And they give you different essays on different topics, and you read the essays and you discuss them. And those essays are, going to be like 10 or 15-page essays, and you read them and discuss them in class and quote them, and you may have done stuff like this before. High school tends to emphasize more read it and summarize it. This class is read it and summarize it, and then explain your opinion on it and why you have this opinion, and develop an opinion and back up your opinion. But the point is that some people teach this class with newspapers, and some people teach this class with essays. Sometimes essays by quite famous people, but essays about different kinds of sort of topics of debate, sexual harassment in the workplace, or you could give students essays about piles of things, civil rights, ethical behavior, that kind of thing. Now, in all those versions of the class, you're going to learn fundamentally the same stuff. You're going to learn how to read, how to respond to your reading, your opinion, your examples, and blah, blah, blah. But they just use different books to get there. You are enrolled in my course, and each professor gets to pick the readings. So I picked the readings for this class, and I've picked something some people have said was crazy, but I've decided to pick something a little difficult because, I don't know, I'm just a difficult person, I guess. I've decided I've picked out a book. It's a very short book, by the way, but it is a book. And it is not a recent book. It is a book that was written 2,400 years ago. It is by a philosopher named Plato, who lived in ancient Greece. I don't know if you've heard of Plato. You may have heard of Plato's very, very famous teacher, who was a guy named Socrates. So Plato writes these books where his teacher, Socrates, is the main character. And Socrates talks to people and debates and discusses. Sometimes he does that in little sort of short story looking kind of things, but sometimes he does it in longer things. And what I've picked for you is a longer thing. Now, Socrates is they debate things like ethics and morality and the universe and all these different subjects. So I've selected for our course one book by Plato. It's called the Phaedrus. Don't worry about the name, but Phaedrus is the guy that Socrates is talking to. You can't call the book Socrates, because then there'd be like 100 books called Socrates, and how would you tell them apart? What makes each book different is he talks to different people in different books, and so in this book he's talking to a guy named Phaedrus, and so the book is called the Phaedrus. And this book is 2,500 years old, something like that, written by Plato, and Socrates is sort of a character. He's talking to one person, Phaedrus, the whole time. Nothing happens. They don't go, there's no fight scenes, there's no shootouts. They just literally sit around and talk, and then the book ends. And there's only two characters, Plato and Phaedrus. And I've selected this thing. And most teachers, what they like to do is they like to give students like an essay, discuss it for a week, give them another essay, discuss that one for a week, here's another essay, discuss that for a week. We're going to be looking at this book by Plato for 10 weeks. It is the sort of the center of our class, and I can show you what it looks like here, but this is a copy of Plato's Phaedrus, and you can see it here, and it's got the characters, and it's printed out quite small. Now, the whole thing, it looks like this. And boy, it's a lot of words per page, because I kind of squished it down there so that it would sort of be easily printable if you want to print it out, or it's pretty simple. But this is it. And it's like this, and it goes on like this for 24 pages, which is about this. If it was published in book form, it would be like one very slender book. So that, if you go to someone else's 101, you will learn all the same things I'm going to teach you in here. But they're going to do it with different essays and different subjects. The subject I've picked for the first 10 weeks of class is a book of ancient philosophy by Plato called the Phaedrus. It's difficult. It's difficult reading. It's probably the most difficult thing you've ever read. It is not easy. The words are old-fashioned. The ideas are complex. It is quite long. And it is intense, and there's a lot of different people mentioned, and you're going to be like, who the fuck are these people? And there's places mentioned, and you're going to be like, I don't know any of these people. And there are words in there that, boy, there are some words in there that you will not even find in a dictionary, and we will have to do some extra work to hunt them down. But that is the centerpiece of the class, Plato's Phaedrus, and we're going to be focused. I'm going to, if it's difficult, don't worry about it. I'm going to make it easy for you. And that's it. So, cool. So I will see you in the next video.